Hey everybody, how's it going? Can you believe we are already a couple weeks here into 2018? January's flying by for me. I'm sure it's flying by for everybody else as well. Played a little Fortnite today, but really the topic is not going to be Fortnite. The topic's actually going to be how this game, as fun as it is, and simple as a concept it is, it's a great game. I don't want to take anything away from Fortnite, so let's just praise Fortnite for a minute. This is a great game. It's awesome as free-to-players. It's super affordable if you're trying to get some of the upgrades and just put money into the game. It's worth it so far. It's just overall fun, an easy concept. I would say I'll give it like a 7.5. It's fun, and it's great that the content just keeps coming out. So there's my praise for Fortnite. Now, what I'm really going to talk about today is not so much Fortnite, but what this game reminds me of. And what this reminds me of, or makes me wish it was, is man, it brings me back to my childhood. It makes me think of GIJoe. And if you're from the 80s or 90s or even late 70s and you understand what GIJoe is, I know they tried to do a remake of GIJoe in the 2000s, but it wasn't quite as good. But we're talking classic GIJoe, the 1980s. Man, it was awesome. And if you haven't had the opportunity to watch that, I really encourage you to go find that TV show and watch GIJoe versus Cobra. And this game totally puts me in that atmosphere and into that GIJoe vibe, which just makes me wish and really wonder why we haven't had a GIJoe game yet. Transformers has had a lot of success with the movies, as well as video games. Their video games haven't been fantastic by any means, but they've been okay. At least they've had them. And that's what I wish we could get. I wish we could get a GIJoe video game. I mean, good grief. If you look at the characters in this game, right now, it looks like I'm playing with like Lady J. Lady J was an incredible female character in the 80s for GIJoe. And the blonde hair guy that I think I will be using later could easily be Duke. The jacked black man, he is Roadblock. I mean, tell me a better looking Roadblock than the guy that's in this game. And there's even, a Korean character? I mean, we could throw out a lot of different classifications and a lot of different type of people. And really, like GIJoe did in the 1980s and 90s. And it'd be so much fun. I mean, how much fun would it be to have classifications, Duke is your stereotypical sergeant. You throw in Flint, who just could be a soldier. You could have Beachhead, who is a ranger, and my personal favorite, Beachhead, he was the man. Barbecue, he was a flame-throwing guy. You could have Snake Eyes. I mean, everybody would want to play as Snake Eyes and be an infiltrator. And, I'm going to flip the script and go to Cobra real quick and go to the other side of the fence and say that Storm Shadow obviously would be the equal counterpart to that, with being an infiltrator. Destro in the game, Cobra Commander. Maybe you don't even put Cobra Commander in the game. You just allow him to be kind of the voice or the leader of the opposing force. But just endless waves of Cobra Troopers. How much fun would that be? Instead of endless waves of zombies that we play all the time now in these games, endless waves of did I say Stormtroopers or Cobra Troopers? That'd be hilarious if I said Stormtroopers. I'll have to go back and listen to this, but I guess I'll have Star Wars on the head, I guess. But Cobra Commanders, all his different classifications of Cobra troops, just in the blue and the red, the Crimson Guard, all of them, send them all out at us. And that would be fantastic to play as, there's so many GIJoe characters. Sergeant Slaughter comes to mind. Lifeline. Oh man, so many fun characters. And you wouldn't even have to throw that many out there. I mean, you could put out a basic 10. It's hard to say even 10 if 10 people could make the cut, because you'd have to put, Gung Ho in there, Scarlet in there. Maybe 15 to 20 would be your original drop. And then I would definitely spend the money on expansion packs, like to get character packs, like $10 for 5 more characters. I'd probably even throw $20 down to get 5 more characters if it was those characters from my childhood. And I think there's enough of a demand, or at least people who are reminiscent and enjoy GIJoe, that it would really take over. And I have kids. If you aren't familiar with my show, I do have some kiddos that range all the way from 5 to 12. And we've watched G.I. Joe before, and they like the G.I. Joe shows. Now, they don't sit down and watch it endlessly like Pokemon, because that's what everybody's talking about right now, and all these other things that are out there. But if G.I. Joe were to make a little bit of a comeback, I think with the video games, that would be a fantastic start. And I think that's really where they need to start first, is the video games, and then get into the movie industry, which I'll talk about just a little bit, about how much of a bomb the G.I. Joe movies have been so far. And I don't want to blame it on any of the actors. I don't want to blame it on Channing Tatum or The Rock, because they're just doing what they were told. I mean, let's just talk about the second G.I. Joe. I think it was it Retaliation? I think that was the name of it. What a waste. You're just wasting characters. They wasted Destro. They didn't even pull him out. And they actually even showed that they killed him. And that's silly. You don't ever kill off a bad guy. You just let them get away, or let them be somewhere else. I mean, Destro and Cobra Commander shouldn't even have been in the first two movies. I mean, they should have been the build-up, much like Marvel's doing the build-up for Thanos right now. They've got to be the build-up. You don't throw your best cards out there in the first couple of movies. So what they could have done is, I guess I'm not going to get into that, but I want to talk about wasting characters. And they wasted Duke. They kill him off right in the beginning of Retaliation. What? You don't kill off Duke. You never kill off Duke. He's got to be gone. He's got to be on a secret mission. He's just doing something else. That's how G.I. Joe, the cartoon show, was so successful. You didn't have all the Joes in every episode. They focused on different ones, different missions, different places, different times. Hence, that's what the Marvel Universe has done with all their characters. I mean, G.I. Joe could do the exact same thing. These characters are doing this thing. Now they're doing this thing. Now this set of characters are in this movie. And then you collaborate all of them, bringing them together for one big movie against Destro. And then down the line, you can do the same thing for Cobra Commander. Let's see. So Duke died. And they haven't even pulled out the big guns. And then they let The Rock take over. And I get it. He is a huge character. He is a huge icon right now in the movie industry. But first of all, the character they had him play was the wrong character. He should have been Sergeant Stalker. And he could have been in the top 5 Joes. And he could even be the lead of a lot of his own movie, without Duke. And that would have drawn a lot. At least I feel like it would have drawn a lot. And not bringing in other characters, like Hawk wasn't in the second one. They didn't bring in Beachhead. They didn't bring in, what's his name, Gung-Ho. Gung-Ho would have been fantastic. Ripcord wasn't even in the second one, or mentioned, that I can recall. Shipwreck would have been another fantastic G.I. Joe to have in there. So I feel like they just wasted time, and the plot was just so. I don't think it should have anything to do with any of the politics or any of the United States government or anything like that. Just set up Cobra somewhere far away, show that G.I. Joe is trying to take care of it. Let's not even worry about what's going on in our world today. Let's get away from that, escape that for a little bit, with a little bit of drama, a little bit of excitement from a fantasy world. So this game, and I'm going to close out, and that's just a little bit of the movies. I just wish they would reboot. I guess finish that up. I really wish they would reboot the G.I. Joe franchise, maybe let it sit a couple more years and just see if it could come back. But I think it should all start with I didn't talk about Flint. I have to throw Flint out there real quick. What a waste of Flint. Flint is a fantastic character in the G.I. Joe cartoon series of the 80s and 90s, and they just wasted him in the movie. They made him kind of like this almost not listening punk kid, not understanding what was going on, and didn't see the big picture. And that's not who Flint is, and that just didn't do the character any justice. Alright, so tying it all together here, I would love to see a G.I. Joe franchise movies rebooted, but first starting with the video game. I think there's so many different age categories and genres of people who still love G.I. Joe, ranging from people in their 60s and 70s who were aware of it or bought it for their children when it first came out, and then those who grew up with it that are in their 30s to 40s like myself, and had tons of action figures back in the glory days when action figures cost $3.25. That's right, kiddos. We could buy a G.I. Joe for $3.25. Try buying any kind of Marvel action figure for that much today. Not going to happen unless you get a really, really cheap steal on eBay. But let's bring out the G.I. Joe video game. Let's rehash the G.I. Joe movies. I think I've said it enough. Thanks for watching today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and finish this game up. I wish you a great and happy week. And if you liked our videos, keep tuning in. Give us that thumbs up. And, of course, subscribe. Take care.